What is going on? It is Confusion. Welcome back to a new series of mine. I actually started to start another series, get some content flowing because tournaments don't start every other day, so I can't make many prediction videos. It's going to be called the CSGO Weekly Rundown. So what this is going to be is I'm just going to pick some topics that went on throughout the esports scene, competitive scene of Counter-Strike over the last week or so, and I'm just going to talk about them, what they signify and stuff, just to get some more content out. I like to talk about CS, so let's get this started. I guess this is episode number 1. I'll try to make them out once a week. If things come a little slow, I might skip a week or two. But so far, tournaments are coming out relatively solid. I don't know why I just said solid, but there's a good amount of tournaments. That's what I meant to say. There's Shanghai coming up, Zotac, and then Stockholm and the major. So there should be some good content flowing. So let's just get this started right away. I probably already said that, but who cares? So the first topic we're going to talk about are the minors. The Europe minor concluded yesterday. So I could finally make a rundown of all the minors and all the teams that made it out. So if you don't know, these are the 8 teams that ended up making it out of each minor. Let's start off with the Asian minor first because that was the most predictable. Renegades and Tyloo. A weird situation with all the stand-ins. VG Attacker wasn't able to show up, which is probably their best player, which cost them that. SZ Absolute beating Renegades in the best of 1 to take first place. That's pretty weird. You didn't really expect that. Tyloo Tainted Minds, that was expected. And then SZ Absolute. I would have thought it would have been VG Flash, but SZ Absolute took them out, and then they beat Renegades. The playoffs went essentially it went a little awkward in the beginning because Renegades had to play Tyloo due to how SZ played in the first place slot against Tainted Minds. So Tainted Minds ended up beating SZ. Tyloo beat Renegades in a close series. Tyloo beat Tainted Minds to be the first team to qualify. And then Renegades beat SZ Absolute. Sorry about that noise. Wait. I don't think I picked a good time to record this, but okay, I'm just gonna cut all this out. Start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and we're back. Okay, we had a little interruption in the middle. Don't mind the noise. Someone's mowing outside. What are you gonna do about it? Let's try to talk a little bit closer to try to sound up the volume. So obviously where we are, Renegades beat SC Absolute, and then they ended up beating Tainted Minds 2-0, the Australian derby. So, and then Renegades beat Tyloo to win the minors. So the first 2 teams to pop out of there, Tyloo and Renegades. There's not much to talk about here. Those were the 2 predicted teams from the start, so that makes sense. This fucking guy needs to stop. Let's move on to the CIS Minor. Another minor that went relatively well. Expected. The Pro 100 beating Plink Tech, that was a surprise. I had Plink Tech actually making it instead of Spirit, but Pro 100 played well that game and they ended up beating Spirit in the semifinal, but then lost to Hellraisers, who were the first team to qualify, and Spirit went on a loser bracket run, beat Avantgarde 2-1, and then beat Pro 100 2-0 to be the second team to qualify for the Asian Minor. Or not Asian, fuck on. CIS Minor. So and then Hellraisers ended up winning the CIS Minor. That was my expectation from the beginning, that Hellraisers was going to win the minor. A team that I am impressed with is Pro 100, actually. That's the team I'm most impressed with. They were able to beat Plink Tech, if I'm not mistaken, a best of 3. Am I correct? Yes, they beat them in a 2-1 best of 3. And then they also managed to beat Spirit in a best of 3 in the semifinals. And almost, I think the match were relatively close, 16-14 against Hellraisers. They almost made it to the major. So they had a really good performance this tournament for their standards. But in the end, they couldn't do it. Spirit and Hellraisers are your 2 teams to qualify from that. Next is the Americas Minor. Well, this is the minor to talk about because obviously NRG were the undefined favorites to come out of the tournament, and they ended up losing every single game in the bracket, which is kind of fucked. They coasted their way through groups, beating Swole Patrol in a best of 1, and then beating United in a best of 1. United ended up beating now Tacoma, Noobs Trying Counter-Strike. That shit fest of a team that I'm pretty sure half of them are Phelps, or no, FNX and bit are leaving, so it's going to be Phelps, Kanji, and Cello. That's going to be a fucking shit fest. Swole Patrol had a map. I think they lost now Tacoma. Oh my god. Freak, my man. Come on. Group B, went as expected. Rogue and Complexity were the top 2 teams to make it out of the group. Dignitas had a okay showing. Who did they beat? They beat Furia in a best of 3. Furia were a team that they're doing good things. I have hopes for them. They're doing really well in qualifiers and stuff, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see them in some bigger lands in the future. They just moved to America, which is good for them, further in the Brazilian scene. And maybe they can be at some NA lands sometime. The playoffs, Rogue beat United in a surprising 2-1. United played really well this tournament. Energy, Complexity, that was an embarrassment to watch for Energy. I don't know why they tried to play Inferno. That was an utter collapse on the T side of Inferno, and their CT wasn't even that good. And they essentially threw Train. They should have won that easy. But, you know, upsets happen. You go down to the lower bracket, and they picked 2 of their worst maps, Inferno and Dust 2, which they are not good on either of those maps. And I don't know if it's the coaching or if it's just the team morale, but they did not play well at all. Both those series were hard to watch because I am an NRG fan. It came down to Complexity and United in the lower bracket for the last slot, and Complexity took it pretty handily. 16-10, 16-7. And then they ended up actually riding on that momentum to take they won the entire minor against Rogue. So your 2 teams to make it out are Rogue and Complexity. I would have taken Complexity originally. I might have taken Rogue and NRG, but NRG choked, and maybe they can bounce back in Sydney in these online qualifiers. The last minor to talk about was the one that just ended recently, is Europe. So you look at Group A, it's pretty much what I expected. I actually predicted that 3D Max would beat Left Out because I like 3D Max. They're playing really well. They couldn't do it against Ents, though. Optic and Ents were the clear 2 teams to make it out of Group A. Group B went a little funky because actually Sprout ended up taking first place. They handled Kingwin pretty handily, 9-16, 16-9. Nip barely edged out Red Reserve, 16-14. But then Sprout actually beat Nip in the winners match in overtime, and I'm pretty sure the map, I don't know what the map was. It was Inferno. Sprout edged them out 19-16 to make it the top Group B. Red beat Kingwin 2-0, and then Nip ended up winning the Swedish Derby again. I used the word Derby twice. In a close series, 16-14, 16-12. So your first matchup was Sprout and Ents. Ents took care of that handily. Optic and NIP. Optic. The one map that Nip won was overtime. It was really decisive if you look at it. 16-7 the first map. Optic almost won 2-0, and then 16-3 just dominance on Inferno. So and then the lower bracket you look at Sprout and NIP. I kind of wish Sprout took this because I don't know, it's just funny. I'm good for Get Right though. Even though he didn't this isn't the qualifying match, but it would have been a bummer if they got out top 4. They destroyed Sprout on Nuke, and then Sprout bounced back on Mirage, but then they fell 16-13. I blame Speedy and Dennis. They had a really shit performance. I remember watching that, and I was just thinking, these guys are playing really bad under the pressure. So, yeah, it's what cost them. And then Ents and Nip. I feel really bad for Ents. I wish they kind of beat Optic because I feel like Ents has more potential. They did really good at Cologne. They took out Nip, Mouse, almost made playoffs. And I just think they could do a lot more damage with the youngsters, but in the end, Nip got to them. 16-12 on Overpass, and then after that, I think they just lost all confidence. They just got demolished. It's 16-2. Good, proud to Get Right and Forest. I've made another major for the first time in over almost 2 years, I think. It might be over 2 years. It's like 700-something days, so I'm proud of them. All the hard work's grinding. All the grinding paid off for Get Right. And then they took that momentum to beat Optic 16-8, 16-7 to win the EU Minor. Let me get my topics. That's down. So the next tournament I just want to talk about, probably going to be a quick rundown. Dreamhack Valencia. It didn't happen that long ago. These are your placements. Virtus Pro, Giants, G2, AGO, Heroic, Fractors, LG, and then North. So when you look at the group stage, in Group A, Giants is the team you expected to go out and last. They're the home team, and although I wouldn't have been mad if they did well, but they lost to North in the opener, and then they got 2-0'd by AGO. What was the score of this? I didn't watch that many of the matches, so I'm learning as we go. 16-2 on the first map. They almost won Inferno 16-14, but they go out in last place. Heroics is surprising to me to go in first place in this group. They took out AGO, and then they beat North 16-10. I think that was the map where AZ had that nasty pistol ace. They got the 3K on Palace. Or from CT to the Palace. It was really good. Really nasty. So then North narrowly edged out AGO. You always feel like these guys play each other in deciders or like lower playoff matches, but I'm sorry about that. But they ended up beating them. It took them to train the third map, 16-12. So North was your second place team. Heroic was your first place team. Two things I have to say here. When you Group B is a fucking cluster shit. So you look at it. G2 lost to Luminosity. Okay. A best of one. The map was Inferno. Actually, I didn't think LG would pull that out of the hat. Virtus Pro just shrivels of themselves. Lost 16-1 to Fragsters. But then Fragsters ended up beating LG to secure the first place position out of Group B. The elimination match, 2-0 for G2. So the first map, 16-12. The second map wasn't even a contest, 16-5. Virtus Pro are just weeping. I hope they have something for the major because it's just going to be boring to see them pop out last place. I hope they have something for the major because they're such a good brand. Although I'm not a big fan of the fans. And I don't know, but I don't say I'm not a big fan of the fans, but some of them are really toxic, let's just say. And then the Cider match, another rematch. LG ended up beating G2 again. First map was really close. Mirage was easy for G2, and then Inferno once again. LG had their number on that. So your four teams to make it out were Heroic, North, Fragsters, and Luminosity. The first matchup was North Fragsters. North took care of it handily. 16-7, 16-10. Heroic Luminosity. Luminosity actually upset Heroic. The first map went into overtime on Train. Heroic demolished them on the second map, but then LG bounced back for another pummeling on Cash. So your finalists are actually North Luminosity. North, they don't play up. They're like the team where teams that are really lower than them, like Luminosity in the standings, they can handle. So they beat LG relatively easily. I don't know why I say relatively a lot, but who cares? Inferno was 16-7. Mirage was 16-9. Valde had an outstanding performance. He was on my fantasy team for that tournament. I didn't win, but Valde picked up all those numbers. So congratulations to North. Maybe they can use the momentum into the major. But who knows? The last thing I want to talk about, there's not much going on. The E-League premieres in its early phases as of now. Each team played the first match. Astralis beat MIBR 2-0. Astralis beat Cloud9 2-0. Navi beat Fnatic, I think it was a 2-0, 2-1. And then Mouse beat FaZe in 2-1. So today is the winners matches. If I'm not mistaken, right? Yes, today's the winners matches. So next week I'll have a full update on the tournament because by then it will be over. The last thing I want to talk about is Star Series, the NA qualifier, just because the group stage ran out, or not ran out, but it just finished. The four teams that made it out were Team 1, Swole Patrol, Bravado, and Team Dignitas. Mythic had a shit performance. They choked hard against Swole Patrol. I cried. The Team 1 rode momentum to beat Blackout and Mythic to top the group. In Group B, Dignitas, Bravado, those were the two teams that you would think made it. Prospects and really old people, I don't know why they were invited over many other teams, but that's how it works. So the playoffs have been determined. It is NRG, Bravado in the first match. Ghost Game and Swole Patrol, United Team 1, Complexity Team Dignitas. I'm just going to try to predict the bracket now. NRG, Bravado. I think NRG is going to be riding pretty shitty after the minor performance, but I think they're going to be able to bounce back and take out Bravado. I think it's best of 3, let's say 2-0. Ghost Game and Swole Patrol will be a little closer, but I think Ghosts are going to take it 2-1. United Team 1, I think United is going to take it out 2-0. And then Complexity Team Dignitas, I'm going to say 2-1 for Complexity. So your semifinals will be Energy, Ghost, United, and Complexity. I think Energy are going to beat Ghost 2-1 to make it to the grand final for the qualification match. United, Complexity, I think it's going to be close, but Complexity is going to take a 2-1. And in the grand final, you're messing with Energy online. 2-1 for Energy. I think they're going to qualify for Star Series. Join all the invited teams already. None of them. So who knows. But those are my predictions for that tournament. And today was a relatively short episode of the CSGO Weekly Rundown. If you want more content for CS, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching.